Okay, hello everyone. So in this video I wanted to talk a little bit about antinatalism. As I'm sat here at the top of this hill, I like to at least create a nice setting when I talk about rather serious and controversial topics. So antinatalism is the idea that it's unethical to bring people into existence because there is suffering in existence, and existence is just generally unsatisfactory, and I would very much agree with this. The antinatalists are very much right. It does tie in a lot with Buddhism as well. I'm not particularly Buddhist myself, but Buddhist monks, they don't reproduce. They know that life is inherently suffering, and I think in Buddhism it's understood that reproduction continues the wheel of samsara, as they call it. So in Buddhism, I think there's a quote somewhere, which was maybe said by the Buddha or not, that oblivious to the suffering to which life is subject, man begets children. I can't remember the quote exactly, but the other part of it goes, if only he would realise what suffering he would add by this act, he would cease from the procreation of children and so stop the cycle of old age and death. So I think the Buddhists have maybe got the right idea there. But the best way to look at antinatalism, I think, is not so much looking at what reproducing actually does to the world. It's more maybe look at it from the perspective of your own mind. Like if I brought a child into existence, it would be a bad idea, number one, because I'm not currently financially capable of giving the child the level of fulfillment and self-actualization that the vast majority of us desire. Existence itself is also not capable of doing that. I'd say that the majority of us, we live lives of lack because reality just does not provide us with the things that we want. So it's generally quite a shitty situation, which is a bit unfortunate to say. So the other problem is with bringing the children into existence. If I was to see my children suffering, then that's going to have a seriously negative impact in my mind, because children are a huge source of attachment. There is a quote in the antinatalist communities that reproduction is the root cause of all problems, and I've said this a lot myself. I've argued that point a lot in various comment sections, but people have disagreed with me, and they're maybe right. It's not. I'd say that reproduction and allows problems to exist, but it's not necessarily the root cause of them. I'd say maybe it's more to do with inside the mind, like attachments and stuff. That attachment is maybe the root of all suffering, as is taught in Buddhism anyway. So I think that personally I could live a much more happy and fulfilling life and have much less of an environmental impact if I don't reproduce. I've never had any intention of reproducing, although I do agree that if you have children, it could be an amazing experience because I'll be able to teach them all about electronics and whatever. But I need to look at the wider picture of ultimately what would happen if the child perhaps maybe would have some sort of disability and would require my constant care. It would be a life of suffering for them and for myself, because that's something that I did which could have been prevented. So yeah, I think the antinatalists have got the right idea, but ultimately antinatalists are fighting against the universe, and you can't fight against the universe in reality. We can only solve all of our problems on a relative timescale, but ultimately you're not going to solve the problem of existence. All things are impermanent. There's never going to be a permanent state of living things not existing, because as we understand, I think in cosmology, please do correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about any of this. I like to keep the comments open for discussion. Only YouTube removes comments, not me. So universes expand and collapse as far as we know. So if that just keeps on going, we can never ultimately permanently solve all of our problems. I think as like various civilizations come into existence, they need to realise the truth of how our attachments create our suffering, and then how to go about maybe not procreating so much, if at all, because it does have a negative impact on your own mind. I often see kids like I don't know, they like vandalising stuff and just behaving horribly and that's not something I wanted to bring into the world, because I'm just not the type of person who could bring up children. My mind is more sort of very left-brained, analytical. I like to focus on projects and engineering and stuff, and sort of nurturing is not something I'm good at unless it's like puppies and kittens and animals and stuff. Children, I just don't like them that much. I mean, I don't mind being around them, as in like if my friends have got children or whatever, like talking to them, but I don't like being around them for extended periods of time. So that's not too relevant to the subject of this video anyway. But I think the takeaway point is that reality, it very often just cannot provide the levels of fulfillment, self-actualization, fulfilling our dreams and all that the vast majority of us desire. It's just not possible, I don't think. So I think that bringing people into a reality like that, it's just not a good idea, because suffering is an inherent part of it. So I've looked at some of David Benatar's work, and his asymmetry argument is pretty good, apart from one thing. It's the perspective that you're looking at it from. So it's like if people exist, then they've got pleasure and pain, and but if nobody exists, there's no pleasure and no pain, but it's better if nobody exists, he's arguing. But from the perspective, well, there wouldn't be a perspective of that non-existent person, so you can't really talk about it. But let's just say if we all look at Mars, wherever it is now, there's no suffering on Mars, so we can say, because we exist, that's better. It's better that Mars is empty, and there's no suffering on it. That's maybe one way to look at it. But yeah, obviously there could maybe be joy on Mars, but there's nobody existing on Mars who's missing out on whatever joy there could be. It's not, this concept of missing out, you actually, sorry, I'm getting bitten by various midges and insects at Ardmere Point in Scotland just now, so it's a bit difficult making this video. They're quite distracting, but yeah, we'll have to maybe look at it that way. Like it's better from our perspective if we look at like Mars. There's no one suffering on there, so it's overall a positive from our perspective, I would say. But then again, if non-existence is an actual thing and it's possible, complete non-existence, like not knowing any experience, we do have like people who commit suicide are striving for that. I'm not saying suicide is a good way to deal with anything at all. And we also put down animals, we euthanize them and put them to sleep, because non-existence is preferable to an existence where there's suffering. And there is suffering in all existence to a greater or lesser extent. I know in my life I've suffered quite a lot, but I'm not the sort of antinatalist who would hold it against my parents for having me, because it wasn't their fault. They didn't know any better. They were just doing what they thought was right, what they wanted to do, and it was not anything that we should be. It's not something we should be hating our parents for, blaming them, disowning them, that's not the right course of action. Once exposed to antinatalism and given the opportunity to think about it, I think we should go forward from there and try and see how we are creating the suffering in this world by continuing to bring people into it, and maybe not bring people into existence. I can't think of an ethical reason to reproduce, that's for sure. But if anyone can provide a reason, I know on Danny Shine's YouTube channel he discussed this a lot. He had a £100 prize if anyone could give him a good reason why they should reproduce, and so far, according to him, no one has done so. But if I could find an ethical reason to reproduce, like a really good one, then perhaps I would, but I'm currently on the vasectomy waiting list, so it's probably unlikely. I just feel that there are much more fulfilling, even more useful things that I could do with my life to benefit other people than having a child. Having a child would really hold me back from my other goals of creating a power systems business, which would actually, I reckon, would bring overall more joy to people so that they can do their electric bike projects and electric car projects. So I think I've maybe waffled incoherently long enough. I don't have any script. I only plan these videos in that I'm going to make a video. I don't plan much in what I'm going to say, so I'm going to go just now and go back down this big hill to the campsite and continue doing what I was doing. So all the best to everyone, and thank you very much for watching.